This is in the early 2000s, specifically around startups weren't a thing. You're working for this 1, 2, 3% obscure ideas.
So is it almost like saying, I'm going to be an actor or I'm going to be a musician, and people look at that and go, oh, really? So you're going to be a waiter, basically?
99% of these things fail. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew that the standard path wasn't for me. And so I skipped out on my exams. I just felt like school was BS. My wife now, who I was dating at the time, she got into med school in second year of undergrad without MCATs. And her parents were like, who is this loser? And so the first job I took, despite having an engineering degree in software, was in all the larger companies thought I was weird. And my mom lost it. She's like, your friends are working at Microsoft and Johnson & Johnson, and what are you doing here? And I'm like, I have a plan. Because I was so scared. But then I kept going. Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan until you're punched in the face. More than 500 million in tax incentive. In the startup game, velocity is your currency. Velocity is moving fast in the right direction. Once you have a direction, so it could be, I have X idea. Who is the ideal customer profile? What is the pain point? What is the message that will resonate with them? That's the first step I need to figure out. So I have an idea. The first step I need to figure out.
Can you believe that we've known each other for over 10 years now?
Where did we meet?
So for those of you that don't know, we met for the first time at a wedding in Indonesia. You were best man. I was the...
No, I was the officiant.
You were the official, that's right, yes. What was I? I was a groomsman. I was a groomsman.
You were the best man.
Yeah.
I was the officiant.
I was the best man. Oh.
You were the best man. I was the officiant.
Sorry to whoever's wedding that was.
You were the officiant. I was the officiant. You were the groomsman or the best man.
We had so much fun.
That was a lot of fun. Exactly 10 years.
Yeah, it's 10 years ago. Yeah.
2015.
Now, what I remember, what I loved about you, because we had an awful lot of fun, but we only got talking about business later. But what I do remember about you, even back then, is that you were a fearless entrepreneur. I think, is it fair to say you were championing AI way before it became a household name for everybody? and we'll get on to that. I would say in those 10 years, what has changed? You've become a published author, very, very impressive. But what for me is very interesting, and it kind of leads on to our competition today. I'm sure you don't mind me saying, back then you were a little chubby. You're a little bigger than you are today, than the fine specimen of a man that sits in front of me. And so obviously something's changed in your mindset since then. Since we met, something changed that said for you, it's become more important to look at mental and physical well-being. And it's very interesting that I'd like to get to the bottom of what were those changes for you. And I think in order to do that, for people who may not know who you are beyond the sort of brief introduction I've given, can we talk a little bit about your early years with co-founder and president of Boast AI? Tell me a little bit about Boast, what it is, and how it led to coming into existence.
Definitely. I think I'm going to go back all the more, right? A lot of my life has been preparing for the journey of entrepreneurship. I didn't finish high school. I skipped all my high school exams.
I did not know that.
And so I don't have a high school diploma. And I still finished engineering. And
listen to that, kids. You don't need one.
So my wife now, who I was dating at the time, she got into med school in second year of undergrad without MCATs. And her parents were like, who is this loser, right? And I had to prove that I could get a degree. At the time, this is in the early 2000s, entrepreneurship, specifically around startups, weren't a thing, right? You're working for this 1, 2, 3% obscure ideas.
So is it almost like saying, I'm going to be an actor or I'm going to be a musician, and people look at that and go, oh, really? So you're going to be a waiter, basically, with respect to waiters.
Precisely, right? And 99% of these things fail, right? And so I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew that the standard path wasn't for me. And so I skipped out on my exams. I just felt like high school was BS, right? And then to prove a point, I'm like, okay, now I guess I got to apply to university. So what I did was, despite not having a high school diploma, I applied to every single university. And regardless, right? I'm like, okay, let's see, because my parents, so my girlfriend, then wife now, she's like, I think you need to go to university, right? If we need to be together, kind of thing. And we met when we were really young. We were in our teens, late teens. And my parents didn't know that I had skipped out my high school board exam.
Oh, they did? Oh, what did they think? What, were you popping out and, bye, mum, dad, a big exam today?
I didn't go to half the classes. I didn't attend any of the exams. And so I didn't have a high school diploma. And so I said, you know what? Let me apply to every university possible. A couple universities entertained me to write the entrance exams. I did well. There were math and English. And one university said, hey, where are your transcripts? I'm like, they're coming. There's like some unrest in my school, so it's on the way. And they're like, the deadline's here. Your scores were really good. So why don't you start the semester? But if you don't send us our transcripts, send us your transcripts by the end of the month,
It will be an issue.
yeah, you'll have to unenroll. Now, luck would have it,
Yeah.
they never followed up. And I graduated with an engineering degree in software.
Fortune favors the brave.
Luck and risk are two sides of the same coin. The ones that get lucky are the ones that keep taking risk, keep doing the reps. And so fortune favors the brave. It makes sense.
Though, how did you get the knowledge? So you didn't finish your education, you didn't do the actual exams, yet you then went on to score very, very well in this next level. So how did you get the knowledge for that?
You know, a lot of what we learn in life and what we become is not because of what we read, but it's because of what we did, right? You are what you repeatedly do.
Yeah.
And so when I graduated engineering, our professor offered us to do our PhD in our undergrad thesis, which was collision avoidance on real-time vehicles, which was self-driving sort of simulations.
Oh, wow.
Simulations of self-driving. And I never wanted to do that. I just checked the box, graduated engineering. Now, here's what's really interesting. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Every entrepreneur I talked to and asked, what is the most important skill? They would tell me, it's sales, it's communication. Everything you do as an entrepreneur is selling, it's convincing, it's communicating, telling your spouse that, you know, I'm not going to bring money home.
Yeah.
Convincing investors, convincing employees to work on low pay, no pay. It's all
On the master
sales.
classes, everything is everything is a negotiation, isn't it? And sales is part of a negotiation.
It's all communication.
Yeah.
You're communicating to evangelize, not really to inform. If you're communicating to inform, then you may as well send an email. But you're communicating to convert them, to evangelize them, for them to believe in you, right? In your vision. Employees, customers, you don't have a product, you're convincing customers. Your spouse knows you're not going to bring money home, and you got to keep having that conversation. And so the first job I took, despite having an engineering degree in software, was in sales, in cold calling. I applied to only sales jobs. All the larger companies thought I was weird. In 2005, they're like, why are you, as an engineer, new grad, software engineering degree, applying for a sales job? So nobody gave me a sales job. So I started applying to then these startups. And startup founders don't care. Luck would have it, one startup founder is like, listen, I need cold callers. And so join, right? And my mom lost it. She's like, your friends are working at Microsoft and Johnson & Johnson, and what are you doing here? And I'm like, I have a plan. And the first cold call I made, I'll never forget. I prepared for the whole freaking day, right? Like just prepping. And the decision maker finally got him on the phone, and I hung up because I was so scared. But then I kept going. And the other learning there is everyone has a plan until you're punched in the face. Mike Tyson says it. Keep doing more reps. The only way to get great at something is to keep doing enough reps and keep going and put in an unreasonable amount of effort and reps and volume doing that thing, that there's no chance that you won't be successful.
Right.
And so I kept cold calling, and I got better at communicating. The other side of that was I was surrounded by cold callers. So your environment matters a lot, right? They were all cold callers, and so we were all lifting each other up.
You're in the boiler room.
Exactly. And so your environment matters a lot. You hang around with 5 fit people, you'll be the 6th fit one. You hang around with 5 entrepreneurs, you'll be the 6th one. So I got really, really good at communicating. And then because I worked for this small, obscure startup, my next job was also at a startup, and the next one was also at a startup because I had no other experience working for larger corporations. And so now I had developed a few skills. One was ability to pivot on the fly, take
think on
action,
your feet.
take action. One of the key things in doing a startup is there is no plan, right? You can have this plan A and B and C and delay execution, and it leads to nothing, right? When reality shows up with a steel chair, your plan is done, right? And Mike Tyson says this famous quote, everyone has a plan until you're punched in the face. So move fast and iterate along the way. And that is the whole startup thing, is like, you don't create this glorious plan and then put all the pieces together and ship it. That's the most expensive way to fail. You talk to customers, you figure out their pain points, you build a minimum feature set, you test it with them, and you keep iterating and improving and improving and improving. If you have an infinite amount of money, it's different. Maybe you do it differently. But when you don't have money and you're a scrappy entrepreneur, you got to
get it right.
The compound interest on taking action and improving little by little every day is what ends up being an overnight success. So when I had now these few traits, I understood the risk appetite. I understood how to take action when there is no plan whatsoever. And you figure out the plan along the way, because you take action and the path unfolds. And so I'm like, you know what? I may as well do my own startup. My co-founder, Alex, at Boast, him and I were partners in every project since university, and he was working for a large Big Four accounting firm managing their research and development tax credit practice. And he said, it's really manual and we should build something to automate it. And so that's how the genesis of Boast happened.
And that's where Boast AI started. Because if I remember this from memory, because of course we worked together on when you were working on your the brand development, the rebrand, we did the strategy and the brand together. If I remember it right, you had tax credits that with research and development, and you found out an AI. When I said earlier, you were pioneering AI way before it was a household name. So you could use big data and AI to discover within companies how they could get, was it up to 25% more rebates? It's been a while since we talked about it.
That's a good one. So the Canadian government gives you 64% of your R&D spend as a cashback. The US government, there's $10 billion every year that they provide to companies, up to 20%. And what we found is that by integrating with a company's technical systems and their financial systems and pulling that data in real time and stitching it together and looking for trends, we can identify more in tax credits and more incentives for them. And so we were, I think till date, Boast has gotten companies more than half of 500 million. Dollars in tax incentives.
Thank you very much.
And these are cash incentives, right? So the Canadian government gives you 64% on your product development spend as a cash back. The US government gives you up to 20%. And if you're a startup, you get that as a cash back. And so the traditional process, and when we were doing this, we were saying customers want an outcome. They don't want software. Well, the world is selling you subscription software, but you still have to do the work. We give you the outcome. Customers don't want software where they have to file their own tax incentives. They want the check. They want to put money in a vending machine.
On the business at hand, rather than get distracted by what isn't your core business tool. It's
exactly. And the process with the Big Four accounting firms was they would come in at the end of the year, they would ransack your business, talk to your CTO. Upside down everything in your R&D department and grill your team.
Charge you a fortune.
But it's like the time spent in all these meetings, you're trying to remember and do a memory recall of what work you did in R&D. Whereas if you pull this real time, you end up getting them more money faster.
Nothing slips through the cracks.
And for less time and risk, because it's all audit ready. You have all the logs. And that was the vision. And that was the vision in 2017. Right. And it was a fantastic journey. In 3.5, 4 years, we grow the company to 10 million ARR. And then we sold a majority stake to a growth equity fund. And what's really interesting is for 10 years, I'd tell my wife that I'd retire at 40, just as a joke. And 2 months before the deal went through, we had a huge argument at home. And I'm like, don't worry, I'm going to retire at 40. And she's like, Lloyd, it's like 2 or 3 months away. A week after that conversation, a growth equity fund engaged with us. They wanted to invest. We said no. Then they expressed interest in buying a majority stake in the company. They loved the business. And me and Alex got to cash out decently. And because we had bootstrapped the company, we had no outside investor money, we still own almost 20% each of the company.
Because you were saying it doesn't always happen, does it, with startups? That
it doesn't.
You think they're billionaires, but they have so much startup capital from other people that by the time you sell it, there's not much left.
I think the average founding team by the time of exit that's taken multiple rounds of venture capital owns something like 15-20% between the founders, right? And because every round of funding you take, you dilute yourself and you take multiple rounds of funding, and the stress it adds to you, and you're in this venture capital hamster wheel. And so anyway, the wire hit my bank account the week of my 40th birthday, and it was shocking. Like, you sort of manifest this into reality. But manifesting is not just like journaling
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? You gotta act. You gotta say it.
Just only putting it out there, it is important, but
You gotta act.
Yeah, yeah,
You
there
gotta
has to be
act.
action.
And I think the most important thing is the action, right? You have an idea. I encourage anyone. You have an idea. Just act. What is step one? It might seem like a mountain, but if you take step one today, the path will unfold. And then you take step two and step three.
Is that, to paraphrase, is it saying that you might not have a complete plan, as long as if you have a direction, then every single thing chips away at that direction?
Exactly.
Which I guess is your vision versus your brand purpose or your mission.
You have a goal. And what does step one look like? So I'll give you an example in fitness, right? Say you want to get six-pack abs.
Yeah.
So you know today you're out of shape. You have a belly, right? So what's the first thing you do? Maybe you measure your body fat.
Yeah.
Right? And you look at based on your age and your BMR, you figure out how many calories should I eat? What percentage of that should be protein? What percentage of that should be carbohydrates? What percentage of that should be fats? Right? So you figure out your calorie intake. And then you're like, what is the best program to build muscle? So you figure out a 4-day-a-week strength training program. And then you take step one, you go to the gym.
Yeah.
Now tomorrow, you may be sore.
Yeah.
But you show up regardless. Like taking action is not dependent on your feelings. You do it when you feel like it. You do it when you don't feel like it, and you do it no matter how you feel.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they fail because they look for quick results.
Yes.
Right? In 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
But like entrepreneurship, fitness is also similar. You got to make it a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because the compound interest on that is huge. Who's the single richest person in investing? Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
He did the same thing for like 50 plus years. Right? And so I think in this world, longevity doesn't exist anymore with all the dopamine. So people switch.
Right.
There is great value in being great at one thing and sticking with it and just keep doing it and doing it and doing it.
Because we have very short attention spans these days, don't we? It's very hard to focus on something, and it's very hard to keep people's attention as well. So you have to be dedicated and driven. And I think maybe going back to the sales examples as well that you said, I know in sales they say it isn't, when you're doing well, that's not the challenge. The sale is when you're getting the no, the no, the no, and the no, is to power through that and to be able to have that. And when other people tell you no, which was a big part of what I'm hearing with you as well.
Failure teaches you more than success ever will. You might get lucky and be successful, and then you won't know how you did it.
Yeah.
You might like fall into a trap the next time. When you act, a lot of people wait for the perfect plan to execute because they think they will succeed. Yeah. And as a result, they act slower, they make fewer decisions, and they don't succeed anyway. So think about it. In the startup game, velocity is your currency. Velocity is moving fast in the right direction. You said direction, right? So once you have a direction, so it could be, I have X idea. Who is the ideal customer profile? What is the pain point? What is the message that will resonate with them? That's the first step I need to figure out. So I have an idea. The first step I need to figure out is how do I validate this idea? Yeah. So in order to validate the idea, you need to figure out who's the ideal customer profile, where do they eat, breathe, drink, sleep, how do I get in touch with them to have conversations with them to make sure that my message is not my delusion, right? It's resonating.
I'm sorry to interrupt. It's just interesting because, and this is an open question, can it also be the other way around? Because you know how sometimes you say you spot a challenge, and that leads you to think to a solution, which is kind of what you said. We're saying with both that your friend Alex said, look, I'm doing this at the moment. It's crazy. So you spotted a challenge to which you gave a solution. Sometimes I hear when businesses fail, they have a solution that's kind of looking for a challenge,
and that never works.
No, you need to be a bit lucky, don't you?
That sort of most of the time doesn't work. What works is, I think if you have a lot of money, you can make any number of things work because you'll have enough venture capital to stick with it for a long time to figure it out. And I've seen that happen. But when you have no money and you're a scrappy entrepreneur, you spotted a problem, and some of the best problems are your own problems. Like Alex was frustrated filing these R&D incentive claims. And he's like, there needs to be a better way. But we didn't just start building when he did that. Because prior to starting Boast, I had only worked for founders, early stage company founders. They all had copious amounts of funding, but they all failed. They all failed. And so I learned this one thing is more companies die of indigestion than starvation, because when you have a lot of money, you frivolously spend. And so when we did Boast, nobody believed that you can automate services with AI. Today they do, right? But in 2017, people thought we were crazy. They were like, why aren't you building building subscription software for people to use and file the claims on their own. We're like, no, customers want an outcome.
Yeah.
They don't want software. The world is going to move towards service as software.
Yeah.
Today, that is a thing, AI-enabled services.
Yeah,
So,
now it's normal, but changing people's mindset on something they don't understand or don't know.
so that's why we didn't focus on venture capital. And the only thing we did was we're like, okay, this is Alex's pain. How do we know that it's everyone else's pain too, right? So what is the first step you take is like you figure out an ideal customer profile. We're like, it would be easier for us to sell to people like us, startup founders, because they don't have a lot of time to hire accountants and string along their CTO to write these reports. And so we just, without having a product, we just cold called and cold emailed hundreds
Which you were
of
good
people.
at, which you had a
base of.
Yeah.
And just sold them on the vision and asked them to work with us. And when I think in the first year we had 50 clients or so, and that gave us great validation, right? And now you've checked this box. What you're doing at the validation stage is, can I get at least 5-10 customers to pay me to try it out?
Yeah.
Do they belong to a very specific niche, right? And is my message resonating with them? Because then you can use that to make it your playbook for
going further and larger companies and other things.
Exactly, for the next phase.
And you've got testimonials and proof.
Exactly.
That,
And we didn't build any software on day one. We did the work very manually to map out all the touch points. And on the back end, we use no-code tools. Today, there's a lot like Replit, right? And there's Cursor, there's Lovable. But back then, there was like Zapier and Zoho Creator. And so Alex slapped together Zapier and Zoho Creator to put together the first iteration of the product so we could pipe all the data in and we could file these claims. And what we found over time is we were getting more clients. Our claims were larger and our audits were less and less. And we ended up building a very profitable company. But man, it was a grind. When we got to 10 million in revenue, we had 30-ish people on the team. There was no marketing resources. It was mostly me grinding. And
you've created this monster, victim of your own success.
It's like when you are trying to move fast and build a large company, and I was in Silicon Valley. Alex was in Vancouver. So I always had this Silicon Valley mindset of do more with less, do more with less.
Which is a good place to be, yeah? I understand.
Which is a
I think everyone understands, but it's worth mentioning that's...
it's a fantastic place to be, and I'll dive into that in a second as to why. But it was a lot about like push harder, get more customers, do more with less. Like basically trying to hyper grow on a bootstrapper's budget. And that's why 2017 to 2020, we went from like nothing to 10 million ARR. But when we sold the company, the majority stake in the company, I didn't realize my body was under extreme duress, right? And like I said, for 10 years, I'd been promising my wife just to prove her parents wrong and everyone wrong that this guy is not a loser, right? Yes, he's done multiple startups, multiple failures, and something's going to click. I kept taking action. Alex and I did Automatically, which was a chatbot in 2013 that failed. Okay, a chatbot in 2013. Just think about it. With a pop-up in your right sidebar, and it would use case-based reasoning, and it would try to respond like a real human. We built it on top of Zendesk. That failed.
But 2013. And by the way, I remember because anything we had and everybody hated it was the paperclip. Do you remember him working? It looks like you're trying to do something. Here's some useless information. So you were already, we
were building that. And then 2015, 16, I did a company called Speakeasy. It was an investor incubated company. It was an AI sales assistant, right? Using rules-based engine, like if this, then that. And then the theme there was before the call, it tells you everything about the sales meeting. It preps you during the call. It guides you through the selling process. And after the call, it updates your CRM and generates the next set of action items. But both those products we couldn't get working, right? And so through multiple failures, and then we had Boast going on, and Boast phase one was operating like a consulting firm. And then 2017, it became Boast AI, and we went on this AI mission. And at the time, the models didn't exist. This is 2025. Think about it, right? We exited Boast in 2020, December or November kind of thing. And so it was a crazy journey. And I kept telling my wife, Don't worry, something's going to click. We're
But
going
presumably
to...
the pressure was getting more. And
It's harder.
understandably, your wife's parents and your parents as well, we were talking, let's not forget those. I imagine that pressure would have been
The pressure
at
was
home
monstrous.
as well as at work.
The pressure was monstrous. She was paying the bills, and we're living in...
So we're very grateful to her as well. She was a big part of your success.
She's always
yeah.
pushed me to keep going.
Yeah.
And one of the hard things is when I started in startups, she was just a resident making no money, right? I mean, the residents make 40, 50K. And then over time, of course, she became a fellow, and then she became a physician and professor. And so she made more money, but she was paying the bills at home, right? And it was very hard. And this windfall happened in 2020. And I kept telling her, don't worry, I'm going to retire at 40.
40th. Yeah,
and the week of my 40th birthday, the wire hit my bank account. A couple of weeks later, I almost died.
A couple of weeks later.
Later.
Sorry, I was just about to say, if this was a movie, this was the first movie. This is where it would end. It's your 40th birthday, success. Parents love you. It's all great.
Everyone I proved
credits roll.
I proved everyone wrong, right?
Yeah.
And then...
So what happened then? How did you almost die?
I think the entrepreneur's journey...
Yeah.
If we treated our business like we treat our bodies, even more companies would be bankrupt, right? And so
talk about that.
So my life was a lot of coping mechanisms, right? So drinking to deal with the stress, socializing with customers, drinking almost a lot because we're going out and entertaining customers, occasionally smoking, right? Not working out. You take meetings from morning to night, and you never plan your meals. So you eat whenever it's convenient and whatever it's in front of you.
It's an afterthought.
It's
a complete afterthought, if it's a thought at all.
It's an afterthought, and you order whatever that you can think of. Maybe sometimes it's Uber Eats, and you don't look at the macro count, or whatever is in front of you, muffins. And so you're like piecing together 100-hour weeks on caffeine and cortisol and carbohydrates.
In the agency business, I've been there. Maybe not to your stress extent, but yes, it's true. And you just don't think about it. Yeah.
And if you don't, you plan everything in the business, right? Because there's a goal, there are metrics along the way, and you got to take action. So you plan, but you don't plan your health, and you're not proactive with it. And so what happened was I kept... The compound interest on the business was great because I was taking action. The compound interest on my health was negative.
So it was literally inverted.
Because I wasn't, I was taking the wrong actions. I was drinking, I was smoking to deal with the stress. I was eating crap whenever it was available, right? And so in between Zoom calls, whatever is convenient, I'd eat, not working out. Everything was an afterthought to the business. And that's why I say if entrepreneurs treated their business like their bodies, business would be bankrupt, right? And so... I saw this study somewhere which said that when you're under extreme stress, you don't get ill. Your body is like, I don't know.
It's when you stop.
It's when you stop. Yes. Like these, you see these marathoners or you're planning for a sprint. No, you don't break until the finish line. And
I know this sadly from actual events and people that are no longer with us who then on holiday.
Yeah.
Or sometimes cases a little bit older, but shortly after retirement, or it is that break when you're strangely enough, your body then goes, what happened? And that's when the issues happen, don't they?
Exactly.
So is that?
It's exactly that, right? And so I pushed myself and kept struggling and running through the walls, doing more with less. And the wire hits my bank account, and I tell Vivi, my wife, that we'll book everyone to Bora Bora. Right, because I mean, this is a celebration. My family, her family,
celebration and vindication.
Yes, and a couple of days before the Bora Bora trip, I wake up unable to breathe. I had bilateral COVID pneumonia. My lungs collapsed. I was in the hospital. I was on oxygen, and I was crying to myself. And I'm like, what have I done? I've neglected my health, and if I pass away, I'm leaving behind a couple of trust fund babies, right? That was a hard one. When I came out of the hospital, I think the message to our growth equity investors was clear, is that this guy is a single point of failure. My roles were being replaced because I would run marketing and products and community, and I was also doing partnerships. So my roles got taken away.
There's no redundancy or safety. This is the bottleneck, and if he's not here,
and we opted,
no succession.
We opted for large company executives. I think it was a big mistake agreeing to go in that direction, because big company people, they've never seen the journey from 10 to 100 million, right? They've usually joined companies when they're hundreds of millions in revenue, and their teams were bigger than our whole company at the time. So when big company people come, they come through with the mindset that I need to hit this goal, so I'm going to come up with a hiring plan, and I'm going to hire people to do the job, and we're going to hit this plan, versus move fast. right? The decision making slows down.
The bureaucracy.
The bureaucracy.
And what was the Monty Python thing? This calls for immediate discussion, doesn't it?
Everything becomes a meeting. And I think if you put a tax on meetings, like if you just charge people for the number of meetings, you'd realize half the meetings won't happen. So it's more meetings.
Some people remove chairs, don't they, from Boardroom, stand only, so that you have to cut down.
A lot of this is corporate cover your ass. Plan A to plan B to plan C to execute nothing. And things just got slower or more bureaucratic, more frustrating. And I couldn't work in that environment. And so I had a falling out, and I'm like, it's probably the best thing to transition to the board.
Right.
And we collectively decided that, or rather the decision was made for me, because I go into a board meeting huffing and puffing saying, these guys suck and we got to fire all of them.
Do you think, just to touch upon that for a moment, do you think if you're honest with yourself, it was more that the decision was made for you? Do you think if they would have allowed you to continue, you might have rolled back into the same lifestyle back then?
I would have, because I was already mentally burnt out. My body had taken a beating. I had just come from harsh hospitalization. We had our third kid. I wasn't mentally strong. Like 10 years of, like 15 years at that point of doing startup after startup after startup, right? I was burnt out, and this felt like the first sort of finish line. And now I see my roles being taken over by big company execs who can't even have a conversation around the execution. It's like hire people to do the job kind of thing. And I'm like,
kick the can, don't take the decision.
And that burnt me out even more, because I couldn't handle it. I broke. I was physically broken. And if you're physically broken, you're mentally broken. And I huffed and puffed and went into a board meeting and lost it. And they're like, I think you need to take a sabbatical. You've had a hard year, and we'll figure out a role for you in 6 months. Like, take a paternity leave is what they said, which was virtually my firing. And I got super depressed.
From your own creation.
I went home, I hugged Vivi, I cried to her, and I apologized. I hugged her for 10 minutes and apologized. And I said, I'm sorry for every time you needed me, I wasn't there. But today, I need the business isn't there for me. They don't need me, right? And you're the only person here standing. Every time you needed me, I put the business first. And today, the business doesn't need me, and you're the only person standing. And the point I'm trying to make here is every entrepreneur has this story. Harder for companies founders and entrepreneurs that take venture capital. Is we put so much focus on the business that we don't treat our bodies right. But if you compare this with athletes, right? Elite athletes, they have a very short work span, maybe 10 years.
Yes.
But they have a team of chefs, nutritionists, therapists.
Dedicated to keeping that body going.
Exactly. An elite athlete will have a personal trainer, a nutritionist, a therapist.
Actually, professional football players. You're right. The body is everything, isn't it?
A coach. All of this stuff, right? Just to shave off a few seconds from their sprint time. So if you look at it, an entrepreneur creates so much value in the world, but they piece it together on cortisol, caffeine, and carbohydrates.
So you essentially sacrifice yourself and thereby your family and loved ones
for the
to
business.
give the world a business. Yes, there's money attached to it if it's successful, but the price is huge.
People building businesses shouldn't be burning down in silence. And that's the thing, right? If an athlete gets a team of a coach, a therapist, a nutritionist, a personal trainer to shave off a few seconds, an entrepreneur shouldn't be piecemealing it on cortisol and caffeine and carbohydrates. They shouldn't be burning down in silence when they're trying to build empires, when they're trying to create impact on the world.
So let's talk about that, because there was a thing you and I have fireside chats or late evening chats, poolside, whatever, poolside. It was very good. And I wrote something down which you mentioned, which was from burnout to beast mode. And as I said, that all those years ago you were a little chubbier when I met you. Now you're in incredible shape. Puts me to shame. But with the power of hindsight, if we would now go back to you, you managed to blag yourself through the university. You did all those startups. You did cold call. You and Alex started very, very beginning. So let's talk about what advice would you give you, and how would you reach the same success? Because I think that's the question, is how would you reach the same success while giving far more love and attention to your body, while not having the money to buy personal trainers and have a whole team look after you? So, and I think there'll be so many people that are watching this today, that would really like to know, how do you balance that? Let's go back to you at the start of Boast, and you're talking to yourself now. What do you say and do?
One of the interesting things is, after that incident, when the board removed me from the day-to-day, we decided to move to Dubai, my wife and I, for a couple years, just for 2 years, and then we moved back last year. And my wife's suggestion was, let's move to a place where there's no hustle culture, right? Because if you surround yourself by entrepreneurs who are hustling nonstop, you might never make these changes.
Right.
Most of us, we don't have a motivation problem. We just need to be locked in an escape room and the keys need to be thrown out. Right. Our circle dictates our habits.
Right.
You are a victim of your surroundings. Right. And so if you don't upgrade your circle, you'll downgrade your potential.
Right.
And so if you hang around, like I said, with 5 entrepreneurs, you'll be the 6th one. If you hang around with fit people who have great lifestyles, you will be the 6th one. Like elite athletes, they hang around with athletes who have good habits. Imagine you're an elite athlete and you're hanging around with people who are drinking and partying nonstop.
You're in McDonald's. Sorry, no offense to McDonald's. But
you're going to be tempted, right? How are you going to play at your peak if you're hanging around with people who are not competitive and not training for the competition? And that's why athletes, they hang around with their kind. And when they don't, and they go and start hanging around with their entourages and start partying and drinking, is when the downward spiral starts, right? You look at Khabib, he dominated because that was his environment. It's train, eat right, treat your bodies right. And so I think one of the most important things, if I had to look back, if I had no money, right? Like today is different. I can hire the best coaches, the trainers. Don't wait to almost die. And luckily you win the lottery like I did. Right? And
learn from your example.
I kept going. I did startup failure after startup failure, and there was no guarantee that the Boast deal would have happened. It happened, right? It was just like a virtue of taking more and more reps to build a valuable enough business that somebody found they wanted to have a huge piece of. But if that wouldn't have happened, I would have, who knows what would have happened, right? I wouldn't have had the financial means to maybe eject to Dubai and hire the best trainers. So if I were starting out right now, I would, as much as you spend time in your business, surround yourself with people who are entrepreneurs who spend a lot of time on their bodies, right? On their health, on their well-being.
Is that easier said than done, though, while you're finding your way? And I mean, entrepreneurs, it's a special class of people. By the way, I want to say, because when you mentioned move to Dubai, I was about to say, okay, maybe it's not quite Silicon Valley, but Dubai are full of entrepreneurs. But you meant you moved here because there are more personal trainers? Is that the...
I moved here because it's a beach and fit culture, and like every gym I went to had like... had like excessively fit people, and every gym in America had more obese people than fit people, right? They were just going through the motions. I love the vibe here, the beach and all of that. So and the food was natural and whole foods. So it improved my my mindset. It improved my physical well-being. And if you're exercise releases endorphins in the brains that calms the feeling of stress. Naperville High School ran a long study on 19,000 students. They did this program called 0 Hour PE, where students, before they started any class, were made to do intense exercise for 45 minutes. So 0 hour PE, meaning before anything you do PE. Over time, they ranked globally top in science and top 5 in math. There's no brain function that exercise doesn't improve. And so if I had to go back in time, I would make a very specific, easy to follow routine, which is a combination of working out, lifting heavy weights, 4 or 5 times a week. The gym is one place you can always win. You might be failing in business, but going first thing in the morning, it calms the feeling of stress. You lift heavier than yesterday, or at least you can try. And when you get that final rep in, you feel strong, right? Pain is the precondition for growth. And then you feel like, okay, I'm going to crush it. And eat protein-rich meals. I think the easy 3 non-negotiables are lift weights at least 4 to 5 days of the week, get a minimum or at least close to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight.
We were talking about this. I'm just going to touch upon this because I was surprised. You mentioned how much protein. So we're talking about, was it intermittent fasting? So I now eat once a day, but you were kind of mentioning that and apologies to the vegans and vegetarians though, just to talk about meat firstly, and then I think it's important also to talk about vegetarians and vegans. But you were saying, how much meat would you actually need to eat in a day to get that protein? I was quite surprised that it was quite a lot. More than I'm eating.
It doesn't have to be expensive, right? Yeah. So 6 eggs will give you 36 grams of protein. 2 scoops of whey isolate will give you 50 grams of protein. 200 grams of chicken breast will give you 50 grams of protein, right? You just mix it up. Greek yogurt, the Faye yogurt you can buy, I think like a couple hundred grams will have 50 grams of protein. But protein builds muscle. It takes care of dopamine, right, for you, and
that's your happiness as well, isn't it? That's your happiness and your go get it.
Your body needs protein because think about it. If you do not eat protein and you do not work out, the less protein you eat, the more susceptible you are to eating other junk. Protein is the most satiating macronutrient. So if you don't eat protein, you're eating all kinds of junk at late hours.
The munchies, when you really feel like a packet of crisps or that's.
But if you
in part lack of protein.
Try to eat 3 boiled eggs and see if you have that same munchie. Right? And it's actually good for you. It's hard. But the thing is, man, there's great success in doing boring things over and over again. Right? If your freaking plate always looks like a Pinterest board, then their labs are going to look like a mess. Right? If your plate always
the labs, by the way, your measurements when you go in
biomarkers,
your biomarkers.
If your plate always looks like a Pinterest board, your blood work is going to look like a patient. That's the reality. Right? To be successful, you got to limit your choices, right? Like to be successful, you got to limit your choices. The cognitive overload needs to be at the minimum. So what do you do then? So my 3 non-negotiables going back would be, you don't have to have like complicated workouts either. Like do a routine. Maybe it's full body every other day. Or maybe it's like chest, shoulders, and triceps one day, back and biceps one day.
How much time should you allocate? Would you say
45 minutes?
45. So it's not... Even as a busy entrepreneur, and of course we're not talking only about entrepreneurs. I think anybody in business this applies to. That
wake up, go to the gym if it's in your building or somewhere close by or within walking path. It's easy. Train, lift weights, and if you can, do a 20-minute sauna. If you can't take 2 hours for yourself every day in the morning,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? Because you are the most valuable asset to your company. The biggest successes on the planet, from Airbnb to Meta to Dropbox to Amazon, have all been founder-led. When Steve Jobs passed, the creativity at Apple stopped, right? And so if you don't take care of yourself, you will eventually damage the business because you will burn out. And so it's really, really important to take that time for yourself. And I encourage every investor
to do that.
To create a budget for the founders and the exec team to make wellness a part of their routine. There was recently somebody created a BS ETF. Somebody created an ETF called the deadlift ETF.
Right.
What they did was they just basketed all the stocks of company CEOs who lifted weights or trained martial arts or combat sports.
Something that...
and they were basically into training. And what they found is that ETF, the deadlift ETF of CEOs of companies that lift, generated 2.5 times more return over the last 4 years than the S&P 500, right? Now, if you correlate that with the Naperville study where 19,000 students were made to do 45 minutes of intense exercise before starting class, eventually went on to be some of the smartest kids in math and science and top-ranking school from a low-ranking school. It just tells you that there's no brain function that exercise doesn't improve. Physical priming is cognitive dominance, right? But physical priming just doesn't happen by going and lifting heavy weights. You got to eat right. And
so the term food for thought isn't just a saying. It's
lift weights, eat a protein meal, rich meal, and recover. Sleep 8 hours. This is the basics. These are the non-negotiables for everyone. And it's not complicated. And my 4th would be sauna because it's just good for you.
Right.
Like the all-cause mortality rate is lower. Alzheimer's rates are lower. And it just feels good, right? You burn more
Or
calories.
conversely, over here in summer, walk to work.
Yeah.
If you've got a
Walk to
20-minute walk in summer, you've got your sauna.
I think being in the sauna is quite helpful. I love the sauna, but you may not have the time for it. At least go, and the most simplest routine is you wake up, you go to the gym. Let's say you do a squat. Giving you the simplest routine: a squat on the Smith machine, a bench press, and a shoulder press, and a row for the back, either with a barbell or with dumbbells, or you do a pull down. And so that's like one full body routine, right? And then the next day you go, maybe you take a break, you go on Wednesday, for example, and you do the same full body, but now you do different routines. Maybe you do a leg press. Maybe you do an incline bench press. Maybe you do a horizontal pull row, that kind of thing, right? And maybe you do rare delts.
So you deal
not the
with
shoulder
different
press.
parts and different motions, and
Different
muscles
exercises
and
for the same thing. So maybe you got, like, for each body part, you have 4 or 5 exercises, and you do 4 or 5 full body workouts. And you rotate those. After you finish, have a protein-rich meal. So you could have like something simple. Maybe you pre-packed. And I tell you, the best decisions are the ones you prep for the night before. I wear this work time. I wear like pretty much the same thing, right? All the time. Prep your meals. Like it's not hard. Buy an air fryer. An air fryer is super helpful. And buy a rice cooker.
They should never have called it fryer, should they?
Buy an air fryer, buy a rice cooker. Throw some veggies and rice in the rice cooker. And then in the air fryer, 10 minutes at high broil, 2 chicken breasts. Boom. That's your meal. Or breakfast, make a shake. If it's harder, 2 scoops of whey protein.
I saw a lot of pots when I came to see you, jars and
so like 2 scoops two scoops of whey protein. Mix in half a banana or a full banana, some berries, some dates for the sugar, because if you need that energy, and you get a great 50-gram protein meal.
How is that financially? Let's say we're talking to people, as you said, with startups, you don't have a lot of money.
I think financially it works out. You compare the amount of Uber Eats you do.
And you're always hungry, aren't you? With
and the junk.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, man. We need to have an abundance mindset in everything we do, not scarcity mindset. Because when you have a scarcity mindset, you tend to do penny wise, pound foolish things. So you may say, I'm going to save a little here and eat crappy. But then the compound interest over time is going to be huge. So you're going to end up in the hospital, I did, right? And so I think your 3 non-negotiables should be at least 5 weight training days, right? Protein-rich meals. So get at least 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Sleep 8 hours. And then, even if you do that, given our lifestyles, we're still not active. They're still sedentary. So what I would recommend is...
And more so since COVID, There's even more working from home and sitting down and
Go on 15-minute walks post every meal. Go on a 15-minute walk. After every meal, go on a 15-minute walk. Take your meetings walking. You create this culture of wellness.
I was talking earlier about some companies that removed the chairs, remove the tables. That's so true. Do a walking.
And force walking meetings. You know what will happen? Less people will want to meet. So you cut out this BS meeting culture. But it's a healthy way to catch up with people, right? And you're doing 2 things at once. And so you're training your brain.
and here even in summer, again, maybe it's a bit hot outside, but I'm thinking about the building we're now. You've got corridors, you've got stairs. There's no reason why you couldn't, even within an office building, even if you're in a small office, there's room to be doing that air conditioning, for lack of a word that exists, even during summer, all year round.
Exactly. Right. And so I think a lot of what we've been conditioned to do since kids is negotiables. Compromise here. You know what? I can't afford to live in the city, so I'll live in the burbs and drive to everything. We're taught to come from negotiables. You need to make some things that are non-negotiable. Because 1, you'll have a spine. And 2, it's good for you. Right. And it sets the standard for other people that interface with you. Right. That these are my non-negotiables. you have business non-negotiables, right? Like you're going to have to make payroll. There's no debate without it. Some people don't, right? It's a non-negotiable.
Some people don't.
Right? You need to acquire customers, because if you don't, you won't have a business. And you need to deliver value to customers, shareholders. It's a non-negotiable, right? At the base. What are your base non-negotiables with your health? If I ask any entrepreneur, what are your base non-negotiables with the business? I think they will tell you like 5, 10. I need to make money. I need to add value to customers. I need to add value to shareholders.
ROI of this or that.
There's 100 metrics that they'll tell you, right? But ultimately in a business, there's 3 things that matter. Are customers happy? Are employees happy? Is there money in the bank? If
possibly employees first.
Exactly. So if employees are happy, so let's rephrase that. Are employees happy? Are customers happy? Is there money in the bank? If employees are happy, they'll take care of your customers. If customers are happy, they'll pay you. Right? What are your what are your health non-negotiables?
Nothing.
I'm asking you on the fly.
I'm literally. Well, do you know what the funny thing is? I was just thinking that for example, with Monday.com or you have all these everything you're listing. There's nothing in there, and you'd almost think it should be mandatory that in the day you're talking about 45 minutes. That's something you could have done when you started. I think everything you said was possible when you started. Maybe except the air fryer. I can't remember if that existed when you were there. So maybe that's the only thing you wouldn't have had, but everything else was possible. So absolutely, when you're planning your day for yourself and your employees. Samsung, by the way, I believe have done this for a long time, haven't they? I think in the mornings they have, I believe, I'd need to check that they do have a whole exercise routine, as you were saying, to start yourself going. So you're absolutely right. That should be a mandatory.
Workout, lift heavy weights. Exercise releases endorphins in the brain, so it calms the feeling of stress. But it also feels like you're taking on a challenge and achieving something. That's a good signal for your brain. Protein, like I said, is the most satiating macronutrient. So when you eat that, you don't feed yourself on junk and carbs and other things. And it's just not for your muscle. Everyone thinks protein is a gym bro thing. But in reality, you need amino acids to make dopamine and serotonin. The brain chemicals that keep you calm, focused, and not screaming at your co-founder. And so protein
is part of it.
It's the biggest contributor to that, right? And if you're low on protein, the converse is you eat more carbs and junk. It spikes your blood glucose. You get sugar crashes, and you're on the spiral. You're on the hamster wheel.
Tell me, by the way, you mentioned amino acids. It's a bit off topic, but what are your thoughts on peptides?
I haven't explored it, so I'm not the best person to talk about it, right? I think a lot of people come from, let's take exogenous shit, right? This is the reality. There's a lot of science on peptides.
It's a gray area.
I don't think
it's legally or not.
I don't think it's gray. There's a lot of science on it. But you're gonna have to interview Dr. Vivetta Lobo.
Right.
She's been doing a lot of work in performance medicine.
Right.
And thinking through that. And I'm not a trained physician, so I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, very true.
But a lot of friends that have used different kinds of peptides, like a BPC 157 and TP 500. They've healed their joints and all of this stuff. But the problem is, a lot of us, what we do is we look for exogenous things without ignoring the fundamentals, the first principles. And it puts you in this whole sick care. Can I take Ozempic? Can I take a peptide? Can I take something that can deal with this health?
Right.
Bring it back to your business. Would you put Band-Aids on your business?
No.
You'd be done.
There's so many correlations. You keep saying the way you run your business should be the way you run your business and the way you run your body, they should be the same love, the same dedication, the same.
Give me an example with the companies you work with. What is the equivalent of a peptide? Like basically slapping on a Band-Aid. Right?
Yeah.
And usually, why do they need to slap on a Band-Aid? Because they've ignored the fundamentals.
Or you think you don't have time. So you pop a pill because you're like.
And if you keep taking exogenous stuff, whether it's cocaine, whether it's venture capital, whether it's peptides, you're eventually going to get addicted to it. Right? Just accept the fact that anything worth doing is a long slog and it's hard. Whether that's building a great business.
Don't cut those corners.
Building a great business is a long slog. Building a great, healthy mind and body, like an athlete, is also a long slog. Now, you don't have to go and do high rocks and CrossFit and burn your CNS in the process. But at the very least, work out, lift heavy weights every other day of the week. So you get like 5, right? Eat high protein meals. The amino acids are good for your dopamine and serotonin, and it just improves your brain function. Right?
And I guess enjoy it, because I can see a great passion
Enjoy it.
and having known you for 10 years and seeing the change in you.
It's hard, right?
Yeah.
The first time you do anything is hard. If you're afraid to suck at something before you get better at it,
Yeah.
if you're truly afraid and nervous about sucking at something before you get great at it, you may as well not try.
Then you're in trouble, huh?
You may as well not try. You need to take action, right? Okay, I want to improve my body. And that's the thing. There's great correlation between business and fitness. And a lot of us ignore the fitness. And then we burn out when we're 65. Think about it. This whole work hustle culture emanated from the United States, I would like to think, or I think. Let me break it down for you. The American dream is a freaking farce. Okay? This is the American dream for 99% of the people, working class. In my view, it's modern day slavery because you're a slave to the tax system, right? You go to school, you incur student loan debt, right? So the American dream is a farce.
Off the bat, you've got massive amounts of debt, sometimes in a degree that is actually not that helpful.
Exactly. So you go to university, you incur massive student debt, then you take on a job. You can't afford to live where you work a lot of the times, so you work far from where you live. Then you're sold on this dream of buying a car, so car payments. And then mortgage. They've sold you on this dream.
And then the bigger car, the bigger house, the bigger this.
The only people making money on that are banks. And yes, you'll make money over time, but you'll never sell your primary home. And it's gotten so expensive that by the time you sell that primary home, you're going to have to move to a location that's cheaper. Or that whole money is going back
further away. And then you're commuting.
Or that money is going back into the same house. So it's your primary home, in my view, is never an investment. But we've been led to believe
that's interesting.
That taking this loan is an investment. And so this American dream now, you've gone to university, taken a degree that is largely unusable unless you're a physician or a lawyer. Then you pay student loans on it. Between your mortgage, your car payments, and property taxes and income taxes, you've given up 60+% of your income, right? You commute, your daily commute to work and back is at least 2 hours, traffic and everything.
It's a grim picture when you paint it.
And because then you got to wake up, get your kids ready, drop them to school, get to work. You grab and go whatever crap to put in your body. You don't think about your meals. You go to work, you spend all day there, you come back home. After dinner and getting your kids to bed, you're answering emails.
So you're the hamster in the wheel.
And you're exhausted. You can't work out, none of this stuff. And then you go to sleep. And you go through this cycle week on week on week. Maybe Saturday is one time where you get to have peace of mind and go on a nice dinner. Sunday,
while your phone in your pocket's going bing, bing, bing.
And then Sunday, you're spent planning for the rest of the week. You do the Costco run, dropping your kids to the games. And then 2 weeks a year, you get this vacation. And most of what you can afford is go to an all-inclusive. Right? We've been to one together. Where they're like, through a hose, they're feeding you garbage alcohol and more garbage food.
It's unlimited, but is it good?
It's not.
And it wasn't.
And so you live this life till you're 65. The American lifespan, I think, is 78. Or 76.
Is there still a difference with men and women? Do women still live a bit longer than men?
I'm not sure, probably, but so imagine you retired 65. When you retired 65, you have a myriad of health issues. You're barely functional because you haven't worked out. You've destroyed your body. And now you're at home and you have to spend time with this person you've never spent time with. And then you die at 77, 78.
Game over.
So you've got 11 years, 12 years to live where you're not functional. So now you've gone from the tax system to the hospital system, right? And so I think it's really important to take care of your health. Here's the other thing that's changing, right? The pace of AI is so fast. The models are getting better and better. The AI agents are getting better and better. I'm seeing in front of my eyes in Silicon Valley, AI is taking jobs faster than one can upskill. And if you don't have the mind to develop agency and you're just following the plan.
Define agency, by the way, because I know we spoke about that a lot, but sometimes people have a different perception of the word agency. How would you
Agency
describe?
means the ability to think on your feet, deal with ambiguity, and take action. To do things
For which you
without
need
asking.
to be mentally awake and ready.
Without asking.
Yeah,
You don't need
yeah,
an instruction manual. I'm going to figure it
Yeah.
out. I'm going to pivot on the
Yeah.
fly. And we're heading in the world where AI is going to take jobs faster, and it already is, then one can upskill on
the topic
Coursera.
of the day, isn't it?
If you're burnt out, how are you going to develop the agency?
Yeah.
And then what happens? These same people, these American corporations, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, they were offshoring. They were replacing 30, 40% of their workforce by offshoring to India, the Philippines. Now they're just going to AI shore it.
Yeah.
So what happens to you?
Yeah.
If you've not taken care of yourself and you're burnt out, how are you going to develop the agency to create?
And
to
so
learn?
when there's less jobs and still an increasing population, I know that. So you need to stay ahead of the game. And I think what's fun, I mean, Henry Ford, he said some terrible things, but what he did say, what I like, was that, what was it? How did he say it? Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And I think that mentality of can do has a lot to do with how your body and your energy and if you wake up in the morning and go,
victory starts in the mind, right? If you keep thinking negative thoughts, and think about it, our social feeds and the news is full of negative energy. Like American news.
It's the business model, isn't it?
It's the business model. The more negativity, the more you stay on the platform.
Which is sad. It says a sad thing about the human race, but that's true.
Think about the last time something good happened. You don't sit and perpetuate on it for weeks. Right? You move on. Negative news causes people to drink and discuss and debate and
the
debate.
water cooler chats and the
exactly, right? And so you got to always think of yourself as, I am an athlete. I'm an athlete. Athletes don't go and circle the drain on negativity on the past. They train, they recover, they execute, they win or lose, but they come back to the same cycle. You got to keep pushing forward. There's another, I love a lot of sport movie quotes, right? In Rocky V,
excellent.
Rocky Balboa tells his son that it's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you get hit and keep pushing forward. But if your body is beat, your brains are beat.
You can't take it.
And tomorrow AI takes your job away. How are you going to develop the agency to learn on the fly, to adapt, to train the AI? I think the people who win looking into the future are going to be people who train their minds and bodies, sort of like athletes do. They're like, I am a business of one. I am not an employee. Agency wins as you go in the future. I am not going to look for an instruction manual. I bring a lot of value because I can do X, Y, Z. But for that, your brain needs to be sharp. Right?
And therefore, non-negotiable.
And that is a huge non-negotiable.
So tell us then, you know all of this now. How did you learn? I mean, the answer would be the internet, obviously, but what advice would you give to people to make sure you get the right advice? Is there anything that you direct people towards to say, look, if you're starting out and I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to this that recognize the good and maybe the bad as well. There's people going, do you know what? That's me, and I need to change this. What would your advice be? For people, where do they go? Who should they speak to?
I don't think here's the thing. Nobody ever built a great business by just reading, and nobody built a six-pack by just reading. Just take freaking action, right? You're in the age of ChatGPT. You can put your height. You can put your height, weight, age, weight, and maybe your body fat, and tell them, send pictures to ChatGPT and say, this is what I look like. And then send them a desired picture in like 10 months, and be realistic, but this is what I want to look like.
And it will work out your plan for you. Yeah, so true.
And then it's about taking action. A lot of people, what they do is they circle the drain on asking every other person and reading. It's like, it's procrastination. It's procrastination disguised as productivity.
What was that thing? Reading it is not doing the thing. How did that saying go? Reading it is not doing the thing. Talking about it isn't doing the thing. Planning for it isn't doing. Do the thing.
Do the damn thing. Go lift a weight. Very easy. Go lift a weight. Why is it hard?
Pick it up.
Go lift a weight. You want to get 10 customers by the end of this month? Start calling 50 a day. Okay. 50 people are not answering. Jam more data. Call 100. How is reading about it and circling the drain on this?
By the way, that's I remember because I did some cold calling. They used to say, what is it? You needed to do, let me get this right. You needed to make, what was it, 100 calls or something? 10 calls would get you to a presentation. So somebody would actually let you talk to them. And I think 10 presentations would lead to one successful negotiation. And you're right. So it is do it, don't give up.
Do the damn thing.
But you know what? I also love what you just said about ChatGPT is that we, I think most of us think of it as a work tool. And you just gave this great example which backs up what you were saying. Treat your business like you treat your body like you treat your business. And ChatGPT is there for business. It's also there for your health. It's a wonderful, wonderful combination. Yeah.
And if I could recommend one book, read Outlive by Peter Attia.
Okay.
Great book on the topic. And that's all
Outlive.
you need to outlive. Yeah. That's all you need to know, man. And then it's like people overcomplicate things. They get involved in these discussions around optimizing for the 2%, 1%, 5%. You're not there yet.
Yeah.
Sleep 8 hours.
Yeah.
Track that.
Yeah.
Right. You can buy a Whoop. You can buy an Oura Ring. I think every company should make this expensible, by the way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Treat your employees well. Make them happy. Make them healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eat clean, protein-rich foods. Train. That's it.
Yeah.
And then part of that is you'll naturally want to drink more water. You would make sure you're not living a sedentary lifestyle. So just the gym is not enough. You're walking 15 minutes, 20 minutes after each meal. It's simple. Do that for like 6 months. Then come back and tell me like, what's this variation of bicep curl to make my vein pop a little better? Or what peptide I can take to do X, Y, Z. A lot of physicians, I found also share advice like, oh, if you're injured, don't train it. I've always powered through injuries. Like I will go and train it. It doesn't have to be full load, but I'll keep it moving, right? Because it keeps the blood flowing. It makes sure the muscle's not tight.
Do consult your own doctor though before we give that advice, just in case that works for you and not for other people.
Just keep showing up.
Yeah.
Even consistency, it doesn't mean you go full throttle every day. Yeah. It means you show up and you do something.
And
right? Because someday it's 100%.
Yeah.
Some days it's 50%. And it's fine. You showed up. A lot of people, what they do is they focus on intensity out of the gates. They blow their load.
Yeah.
And then they don't carry on, and it's done.
Let's talk about myths, actually. Myths and misconceptions and that. What are the ones, did you come across anything? What was the worst bit of advice you've ever been given that you actually took?
In terms of business or
maybe both, or health, or, that you say, what other, maybe more about health, I think, because that's the territory where we're at the moment. Other things that people generally believe, you touched upon a couple of them, but that people kind of believe that you would say.
Perception. Is this whole concept of intermittent fasting is malnutrition in disguise for founders. What I mean is,
I know what you mean.
Intermittent fasting is not inherently bad, right? It's how people use it. Because if you intermittent fast and within your eating window, you eat enough protein and you get the macronutrients for your body, it's good. Yeah. But a lot of founders that I know in Silicon Valley, they say, I'm intermittent fasting, and they just look frail. Right, and
I've been there. I've absolutely been there. Yeah,
they just look frail. They got brain fog.
Yeah,
and it's a function of not eating right. Whether you're fasting or not, if you're eating muffins and you can't build a healthy mind on vibes and muffins.
Lloyd, I have to say the reason I do intermittent fasting was not because I knew it was a good thing. It was during my time. So now I co-own Carrick. We're in control of the agency. But before, I had an amazing time at Saatchi & Saatchi. But the hours were 16, 17, 18. They are in many agencies anyway. And everything you said is and I just wasn't eating. And it's kind of a pattern that has carried on. The only difference now is that I try and eat healthier in a couple of parts. My business partner, he's a few years older than me, but we kind of, the portrait of Dorian Gray, and it's like. He's getting better and better, and I was the portrait, getting older and older and older. And I had a very good friend. That's why I know a little bit about peptides, because we studied together, we partied hard together. I hadn't seen him for quite a few years. His company was kind of looking into peptides, so we worked together a bit on that. And he looked 10 years younger than me, even though we're the same age, and we both went to university together and partied. So I started realizing that, this intermittent fast, it was just because I'm just working and not eating. And when I eat, it's rubbish, and it's everything you said. Yeah, and I'm visibly older. So I think there's nothing to say, by the way, to people. It's nice that...
But you can reverse it. That's the thing, right?
And it's doing it now, and you can be the best on your actual age, you can be the best that you possibly can be, and that can make you look healthier and younger. And I guess that's the difference. I didn't know that before. The difference between longevity, anti-aging, and longevity, isn't it? So you can be 150 years old, but if your whole body is gone, that's a horrible 150.
Nobody wants longevity
Yeah.
is useless if it's not functional.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then the key thing here is like you feel this brain fog, right?
Yeah.
Like it feels like you've got 47 tabs open in Chrome, and like everything sounds like Sanskrit. You forget people's names on calls.
Yeah.
That's a function of being undernourished, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not eating right, you're not sleeping right, you're burnt out. The vision will keep you alive, but if your body eventually files a restraining order, or throws in the towel, then your business is done.
It's gone.
And so it's I think the non-negotiables of lift weights every day, eat protein-rich meals, if you're intermittent fasting and you need to have 2 meals, and try to get your 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight in that time. If not, eat protein-rich meals first thing in the morning, right? Like get 50 grams of protein per meal, do like 3 meals, 4 meals a day, and you're done. And I'm telling you, I've found the difference in my life. I've done intermittent fasting, and I've also eaten multiple meals a day, protein-rich. My gut's gotten better. My brain fog's cleared up.
Amazing.
Right. And so I think the question is not, I think people are disguising intermittent fasting with
just not eating and malnutrition and
the malnutrition, right? Like, and that's what I see across all founder friends of mine. They're intermittent fasting, but I'm like, when you're feeding window, you're eating garbage. Like you're literally eating garbage. How is this going to fuel your brain? Are you going to take like, I don't know, like what do you put in your car? Right? Think about it as a founder of a venture-backed company or a founder of any company. Let's just imagine you are the Ferrari. Right? Because you want this thing to move fast and move in the right direction fast.
Yeah.
What are you going to put in there? Premium gas, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to
not the cheap rubbish that's,
You're not going to take like seed oil and dump it in there, right? But why are you doing that to your body? And you know, it's easier said than done. Old habits die really hard. I moved to Dubai, made the best habits, had the best trainer, diet program, got to 8% body fat. Then last fall, moved back, and then decided to dabble in a couple of startup projects.
you can't help yourself.
and I realized through the intensity of trying to build a unicorn and the chase for unicorn porn, I neglected my health all over again.
That's interesting. So straight back in.
I went straight back in.
Yeah.
And now this time I was tracking, but straight back in. I kept the training habit still, and it went down to maybe at least 3 days a week I was lifting weights. My diet went to crap. I was eating erratic. I was sleeping erratic. And then my decision making was also impaired.
And so you're back in.
Because my body was now used to being treated like a Ferrari. And all of a sudden, my body is being treated like it's a bullock cart, right? Like it's like it's like an auto rickshaw. It's a rickshaw. It's a tuk-tuk. So imagine for 2 years that I was in Dubai, I had the best nutritionists, the trainers, everything.
You changed your situation,
and I moved back to the US.
And you were back to who you were before.
And I started working on a startup idea. And then I got so obsessed. See, here's the thing. As entrepreneurs, obsession is a requirement. You need to be obsessed. But I urge people, just as they're obsessed with the business, you are part of the business. You are the engine of it. So if you're going to be obsessed with the business, be obsessed with your body too.
What I'm taking out of this, by the way, is and this is a parallel with business where we say in branding, you look at where are we now? Where do we want to be? What is success for us? Then you work out how do we get there? But the step that's often forgotten is the cyclical one, which is, are we still getting there? Are we still doing it? Because everything changes, situations. What I love about what you're saying is you briefly, you knew where you were and it was bad. I mean, you're very unwell, so you had to do it.
I was unwell. And I was sick care. So, and then the board left me with no choice.
So that kind of helped.
So that gave me the opportunity. Now I came into money, so I had financial freedom, and they don't want me anymore. So it was the perfect opportunity. I changed my life around. I shaved off like 20 years, right?
So you discovered where you wanted to be. You discovered how to get there. You got there. But what you did as well was that step, am I still there? And you realized when you moved back to America that you weren't anymore.
And I
it
moved
keeps
back
going. And that's
the 20 years of doing startups, 20 years of doing startups put me in a certain muscle memory of working.
Yeah.
So when I went back to working, I started eating erratic.
Yeah.
I stopped walking and doing the zone 2 cardio. I would just go to lift weights as a stress buster.
Yeah.
Started eating like crap, sleeping like crap. Few months in, I tracked myself and I realized my body fat went from like 8% to 15%.
Quickly.
My VO2 max halved. My T levels tanked. Basically, my body was like, bro, for the last 2 years, you treated this like a Ferrari. And now, I don't know what you're doing to it. I'm ready to file for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Right?